Sandra, hold on, because James and I were talking about this during the break. Jim, look at the dollar. If we have this devalued dollar continuing, if Bernanke doesn't move on interest rates, what does that do to the markets overall, do you think?
Well, I think there's two things going on. First of all, I think the low dollar and the weakening dollar environment, unfortunately, is going to be a consequence, or is a consequence, of our monetary policy. And it looks like the Fed is saying we're going to keep rates low and for the foreseeable future. S&P came out with an announcement, obviously putting on watch and a negative outlook and concerned about our deficit. And it seemed like the market started to react to that more and more as the week moved along. So with the low rate environment, combined with, I think, with the dispute over the budget in Washington, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, of the gridlock, I think the dollar is in for a bumpy but actually a declining ride.
But Jim, money is cheap to banks right now. That is the one thing, and they are certainly holding on to it, not moving. Does that change at all?
Well, and we're seeing, I think, a story of two economies. You're looking at the banks that get very cheap money, and they're focusing on the corporate sector, in my opinion, which is why the stock market, I believe, continues to perform fairly well. The consumer, on the other hand, we talked about being taxed at the gas stations, taxed in food in terms of the increased prices. So there's really two markets here. The companies that can access funds, and the banks will work with them, I think are going to do better than, unfortunately, the consumers and the consumer-driven stocks.
Right. And real quick, but James, what's my dollar going to do in Europe once I get there? We just had this whole talk about the dollar.
We just talked earlier about the weakening dollar and specifically against the euro. So I guess how are people trying to? Is that a concern of the customers, of the travelers? How are they trying to mitigate that? Are they thinking about once they land and once they've got this deal, how expensive it's going to be, I guess, to start actually enjoying the vacation?
Definitely, and that can be cost prohibitive when the dollar's not doing so well. So you want to take advantage of those added value offers, like the free breakfast, like the free room upgrade, like packaging, to save money before you even get there. A free breakfast goes a long way. Don't discount it. That's a big meal that you can take advantage of. Otherwise, you can be paying $50 or $60 a person. Also, going to a museum, you want to think about, the free days that are offered, or the pay what you wish. Think about picnicking. All these little things can add up, make the vacation more affordable.
But here's the, I asked
Nancy, can you give us any indication who's been the most popular type of customer or consumer? Is there any in terms of the demographic of who's been buying, U.S., globally? If it's in the U.S., maybe the type of customers you're seeing. I find the story very, very interesting. And when dollars are selling out, I guess I can make assumptions on what type of customer is buying. But any color you can share?
They look like me, Jim. Come on. Look. It's all women, right, Nancy? It's ladies.
Am I missing anything?
Look, if you can get the ring for $50 if you couldn't get the real prince, right, Nancy?
It's mostly, I hate to say it, but middle-aged women who, like...
It is me!
There's no hope for us anymore
Nancy,
as becoming a princess.
How is this compared? I'll use the word anticipation, I won't say hype, but how is the anticipation leading up to this compared to the marriage of Lady Di and Prince Charles 30 years ago? Is it more now, or how would you compare it?
Well, it's hard to compare because there was no internet back then. So this is the first wedding in the internet era. So all of these collectible items are being sold by on this website, and there was no website to buy items on back then. Plus, Facebook has been huge. We've got 1,500 people who have been engaged with us on this Royal Wedding Gifts Facebook page. People are sharing stories of what they're planning to do the morning of the wedding to celebrate, and people tell us the craziest stories about how they've been collecting these items for years. And I think that people want these items because it makes them feel part of the fantasy, that Kate's fantasy of becoming a royal.
Yeah.